Well, thank you very much for this invitation to speak with Vietnam Economic Times readers and viewers. It's a great opportunity to speak with our Vietnamese friends about the great relationship that we have between Canada and Vietnam. In fact, the bilateral relationship, the bilateral economic relationship between Canada and Vietnam has been growing with leaps and bounds. Growing very rapidly, actually. In fact, in the past, we've doubled our bilateral trade over the last 4 or 5 years. And interestingly, even just this past year in 2025, bilateral trade between Vietnam and Canada increased just a little bit more than 30%, which is quite interesting. We're now at according to Canadian trade statistics, we now have a bilateral two-way trade relationship that is worth $20.6 billion. Now, I should point out that Vietnam has a clear advantage in that bilateral trading relationship. For every $1 billion that Canada exports to Vietnam, Vietnam exports some $19 billion of merchandise goods to Canada. So clearly, Canada is a very good trading partner for Vietnam. We buy a lot of merchandise goods from Vietnam. But we see with the rapid growth of the Vietnamese economy, one of the fastest growing economies in the world, with an expanding middle class with the ability to consume higher quality goods all the time, we see in this relationship a lot of opportunity for Canadian exporters too. With our natural resources, our agricultural products, and other high-quality products that we think Vietnamese consumers would also enjoy. But of course, we rely on a lot of supplies from Vietnam for our industries back in Canada as well. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And this relationship is really grounded in our comprehensive partnership that we've enjoyed most recently since 2017, when that comprehensive partnership was established, and also our joint membership in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP. These elements have really bound us together economically as reliable partners. And I think some of your viewers may have heard Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, speak most recently, for example, at Davos, about the importance of middle powers like Vietnam and Canada and our like-minded partners of this size, economies of this size, working together to ensure that we can uphold international trading rules, rules-based trade in an international economic environment that benefits exporting countries like Vietnam and like Canada, where we depend so highly on the international economy. And some of the practical steps we're taking in that regard between Vietnam and Canada are, for example, with Vietnam hosting this year the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. Vietnam's the chair. Our Prime Minister has sent his special envoy for Europe to come to speak with Vietnam leadership and officials about how we can link the economies of the CPTPP with the EU economies. All those economies that have a shared interest in a rules-based approach to trade and investment, that we work together. So looking for opportunities like that. The other example I would cite for the middle powers coming together to support international trade and investment and innovation would be the ongoing negotiations, which should conclude perhaps this year, I believe, between ASEAN and Canada for a free trade agreement between ASEAN and Canada. That too would help realize this idea of middle powers with a vested interest in rules-based trading system working together. And I think that finally I'll just say that Canada will be for Vietnam a reliable trading partner, We have mutual interests in trade, investment, innovation, and I think that there's a lot more that we can do together. So for Canada, some of the priority areas where we see working with Vietnam, there's a couple of key priority sectors that we can work on, and these have been articulated by both your leadership and Canada's leadership. Clearly in energy, energy security, energy sovereignty, and the commitment we both have to reduce our emissions going forward, to get to a net zero world. Also in the areas of aviation and aerospace, these are areas that we can work together going forward. Obviously, various areas of technology and innovation, whether it's in information communications technologies, those kinds of innovations as we move to a more digital and green future. Clean technology, of course, comes into play as we ensure that our industries are clean and that we're reducing pollution, reducing emissions. And of course, education, areas like education and areas where we have a very strong base as well, and that's in agriculture and agri-food products. We have a strong existing base. So these are kind of some of the priority areas where I think the Vietnamese leadership and the Canadian leadership see opportunities for us to mutually grow our economies. No, maybe I'll address your question directly about Canada's LNG, liquefied natural gas strengths and the advantages that offers to Vietnam. But if I back up for a moment, I would just like to point out that in the world, Canada is the fourth largest producer of oil, crude oil, and the fifth largest producer in the world of liquefied natural gas. So Canada is a global superpower in these conventional energies. So in terms of, let me just speak briefly about the oil industry in Canada before I get to LNG. But for the crude oil exports, and in fact for gas as well, historically Canada has, for the most part, exported these resources to the United States. But we recognize that there's a need globally for more energy security, more reliable energy partners. So Canada wants to play that role globally as well. So currently what we have had is in recent years, the development of the domestic infrastructure in Canada for us to be able to deliver energy to Asian markets. So for example, in May of 2024, that's only 2 years ago now, Canada brought online what we call the Trans Mountain Expansion Pipeline, which brought Canadian crude oil from the province of Alberta in Western Canada to the Pacific coast in British Columbia for shipment to Asia. And we began shipping crude oil to Asian countries. The main recipients of that oil have been in China and Japan and Korea and sort of the northeastern part of Asia. But we're able to, so those shipments we were shipping, we're doubling the capacity. We are currently shipping about 890,000 barrels per day of oil to the Pacific coast and to Asia. By next year, I believe it's within a year from now, that capacity should double, close to double. And we'll be in the range of about 1.7 billion barrels of crude oil that we'll be able to ship out of British Columbia to the Pacific and to Asia for crude oil supplies. On the LNG side, likewise, Canada it's only in recent years that we've been developing the infrastructure to be able to export our LNG products to Asia. As I said earlier, We had primarily been using this domestically or exporting to the United States, but we see there is a global demand for Canadian LNG. So it was in 2025, June of 2025, so less than a year ago, that the first LNG facilities on the British Columbia coast, in the West Coast and the Pacific, began shipping LNG to China, to Korea, to Japan, and I believe to the Taiwan and the Philippines as well, of LNG. Now we've been shipping about 14 million tons per year of LNG. That capacity will increase next year to it will double. There'll be 28 million tons per year of LNG exports, but this will grow over time. So this is I'm speaking now about Canada's first LNG export facilities to Asia. We have in the works, under construction, 2 more facilities that will come online in 2026 and 2027, and then we have a number of other projects being under review and will be developed in a few years. Prime Minister Carney, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney's objective is by the 2030s that Canada would have the ability to export some 50 million megatons of petroleum per year, and that with the development of our infrastructure domestically and increase our capacity to export, by the 2040s, if we go out that far, Canada could be exporting as much as 100 megatons per year. 100 million megatons per year of LNG. So in that scenario, Canada becomes a major, reliable supplier of an important transition fuel, because of course LNG has lower emissions than crude oil, and in fact Canada's LNG currently in producing LNG, we produce our LNG with 60% less emissions than the global average. And with the new facilities and new technology coming on stream and the use of renewable energy, hydropower and renewable energy to operate the LNG facilities, Canada will be delivering to Asia LNG that is 90% has 90% less emissions than the global average. That's very clean energy as a transition from conventional sources. So I think Canada can be so in Vietnam's case, for example, clearly Vietnam is looking for secure, stable supplies of energy. Vietnam is looking for clean energy and it is transitioning to cleaner energies, replacing coal, for example. So Canada can be that reliable supplier for Vietnam. Not only is the supply there that I've described, but you would ask the question about the logistics and timing and those kinds of issues and the costs involved. Now, one of the advantages of the LNG exports from Canada is that the shipping time from British Columbia to Vietnam is 15 days. The shipping time of LNG from the United States Gulf Coast to Vietnam is 30 days. So it's half the time of the shipment from the United States. And also, it's a safer, more reliable source in that shipping from Canada is just across the Pacific Ocean. The other routes for Vietnam to receive its LNG are either through the Panama Canal, which is potentially a choke point, or through some risky geostrategic areas like the Straits of Hormuz or the Malacca Straits, which have some political risk associated with them. So not only is the shipping time cheaper and therefore, less shipping time, therefore cheaper shipping time, the costs are lower, and it's a safer, more secure route to Vietnam. So I think it's a good formula for as Vietnam looks to diversify its energy sources and is looking for clean transition fuel. Canada, I think, could be a very good partner for Vietnam. As Canada develops its energy resources for export to Asia, one thing that we're very interested in are long-term partnerships. So we're looking for long-term, stable partnerships. And of course, there's the opportunity for Vietnam to purchase LNG or other energy products from Canada. But there's also an opportunity for Vietnam to participate in these LNG projects in Canada. As I mentioned, there are several LNG projects under development in Canada, and we welcome foreign investment for the development of those projects. Currently, some of the Asian investors in Canadian LNG who have taken equity stake in Canada's LNG resources to secure them access to the supply as well and have long-term energy partnerships have included PetroChina, Petronas from Malaysia, Korea Gas, and so those are some of them. Japan as well as invested. So we have a number of Asian partners who have taken a stake in Canadian LNG, which we like to have that long-term partnership for supply. So what we're looking for is, as I say, that stable, reliable partnership, and there are different ways that Vietnam can enter that partnership, either through purchases or through investment. And from the Embassy of Canada, we're always happy to provide the introductions and ensure that Vietnam can get access to the right people to have the discussion that works for Vietnam. Yeah, so I think there are lots of opportunities there as we further develop the LNG and oil, both oil and gas infrastructure in Canada, and as I say, we welcome foreign investment. In 2025, Canada is a safe, transparent, reliable investment environment. If companies and countries, foreign companies and foreign countries want to invest in Canada, it's a very transparent, safe environment with good returns on investment. I'll give you the example of, I'd mentioned Petronas from Malaysia earlier. So in the first Canada LNG project for exporting LNG to Asia, Petronas has taken 25% of that project. So they've invested for a 25% stake in that project. So that's an example of what could happen. PetroChina has also invested. Korea Gas has also invested. So we have a track record of welcoming foreign investment in the upstream facilities, both in gas and in oil. We welcome that. In fact, we need those kind of investments to do the development of the natural resource in the manner that we're looking for. In the energy sector, just to give you an idea, the current stock of investment, of foreign investment in the energy sector in Canada, as of today, is about $157 billion of investment, foreign investment. So we're open to that kind of investment, and we would be more than happy to make the introductions for PVN or EVN or other players other stakeholders in Vietnam who want to participate in the development of Canadian energy resources for Vietnam's economic security going forward.